On World News Tonight this Friday, a new agreement between Israel and the Palestinians. The Israeli leader says he's brimming with confidence and calls the Palestinians neighbors and partners. The Palestinian leader says he is committed to the security of every man, woman, and child in Israel. An added twist today is Israel and the U.S. fight bitterly about the fate of an Israeli spy. Murder on the campaign trail. One candidate is dead. His opponent is arrested for murder. And is it important that most Americans flunk finance? A closer look at what most of us do not know about the economy.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. If you'd been glued to the television in 2, maybe 3 countries since earlier this morning, you've understood this was a particularly crazy day. First, there was a flurry of excitement about an agreement between Israel and the Palestinians after President Clinton had worked them all night. And then there was a crisis between the U.S. and Israel because suddenly freedom for an American who'd spied for Israel against the U.S. was part or not part of the deal. There were several hours of talk about blackmail and who'd promised what. And then it all seemed to get smoothed over, and at least for today, there was an agreement. We'll begin with Sam Donaldson, who's at the White House tonight. Hey, Sam.
That's right, Peter. U.S. officials actually announced that a deal had been reached, only to have to take it back and put things on hold. And for a few agonizing hours, there was the very real possibility that everything would blow up. But by mid-afternoon, everyone was smiling. They came back here to the White House to participate in a hastily arranged signing ceremony. It was another of those historic occasions in the White House East Room that presidents dream of. After 9 days of intense and difficult bargaining, the interim agreement between Israel and the Palestinians had been achieved.
We have seized this moment. We have overcome tremendous challenges and achieved success for both sides.
We will never go back to violence and confrontation. No return to confrontation and violence.
For his part, the president warned of danger ahead as well as promise.
The enemies of peace will seek to extract a price from both sides. They themselves may have put themselves at greater risk. They have given both Israelis and Palestinians a chance to have the future we all want for our children and our children's children.
As the parties signed the agreement, King Hussein of Jordan witnessed their signatures. Everyone credited his mediation during the negotiations as indispensable in making this moment possible. In the agreement, Israel will turn over to the Palestinians an additional 13% of West Bank land. A detailed security plan will be put in place and monitored by the United States CIA. The Palestinians will remove from their charter all traces of language calling for the destruction of Israel. Israel will return many, but not all, of the Palestinian prisoners it's holding. And then there's the matter of Jonathan Pollard, the spy for Israel currently serving a life sentence in a U.S. prison. U.S. officials say that after the principals signed off on the overall deal just after dawn this morning, Prime Minister Netanyahu pulled President Clinton aside and said the Israelis wanted Pollard released or there was no deal. Mr. Clinton was said to be taken aback. There had been discussion of Pollard, but no commitment to release him. But now the president found himself over a barrel. The hard and at times acrimonious negotiation between the president and the prime minister then went on for over 6 hours. At today's ceremony, the president said he had agreed to review the Pollard matter seriously, but he insisted,
I have made no commitment as to the outcome of the review.
Pollard aside, White House officials believe the president comes away from this a big winner, demonstrating that despite his domestic problems, he can still accomplish big things on the world stage. But Mr. Clinton's part is not through. He has promised additional financial aid to both Netanyahu and Arafat to make this deal work. And he's promised to go to the Mideast in a few weeks to address the Palestinian Assembly when it removes those objectionable clauses that Israel wanted out from its charter. Finally, Peter, the final status talks for negotiations which are due to end next May will begin in about 10 days. And the difficulty in achieving final status may make the difficulty in achieving the interim agreement look like child's play.
Thank you very much, Sam. Put very precisely by all the leaders today, if you thought this was hard. The president, as Sam pointed out, didn't say very much about the fate of Jonathan Pollard, the American who spied so effectively for Israel. But it is a story replete with all the trappings of espionage, money and ideology, treason, and very deep anger. With more, John McWethy.
As a U.S. naval intelligence analyst, Jonathan Pollard regularly stuffed his briefcase with top-secret documents and satellite photographs, then smuggled them to his Israeli handlers. The volume was staggering, the equivalent of 45 file cabinets of secret paper. The Israelis paid Pollard $2,500 a month, provided him with a lavish honeymoon, and bought his wife a diamond ring. Pollard said he would have done it all for free to make sure Israel obtained the information that he claimed the U.S. should have given an important ally. Pollard became a national hero in Israel, was given citizenship, and demands for his release became a national cause. From his prison cell in North Carolina earlier this year, Pollard told an Israeli reporter,
"Speaking as an Israeli citizen, I couldn't be prouder of my government for having done this."
In the last 2 years, Israeli officials have made urgent requests to release Pollard at virtually every high-level meeting with Americans. At least 3 times, President Clinton has considered offering clemency to Pollard. Each time, the FBI and intelligence community opposed it. Porter Goss is chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
I think the whole idea of having him return to Israel is preposterous.
Intelligence officials are so adamant because they claim Pollard still knows how the U.S. collects its secrets and from whom, and this poses a threat to the U.S. only if he is free. John McWethy, ABC News, the State Department.
There were a couple of moments today when the Israelis thought they were going to have Jonathan Pollard on the plane back with the Israeli Prime Minister. Let's check in with our Middle East correspondent Gillian Findlay, who's in Jerusalem tonight. What's the mood there about Pollard?
Well, people are a little confused. I think there was a point today where they thought perhaps he was coming back. It was being reported, and we were told that the Prime Minister was negotiating hard. This, of course, plays to Prime Minister Netanyahu's right-wing coalition members, the very people he needs to try to sell that peace deal he signed today. So it was very much in his interest to try and bring him back. He obviously didn't succeed, although he has a promise to have this negotiated. There are people on the left here, however, are calling this an embarrassment and saying that it should never have been linked to the peace deal in the first place.
In one word, do you think he comes back, Netanyahu, stronger or weaker after this agreement today?
I think he comes back stronger, but people are expecting him to implement it, and that's going to be the tough part.
Okay, thanks very much. Gillian Findlay in Jerusalem tonight. In a moment, we'll go on to the other news today. Murder on the campaign trail. One candidate dead, his opponent charged. And the Golden State, why California's election for governor matters so much everywhere else.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Kerry.
I can't afford to have rough hands, not with my patients.
Oh, yes, you are.
I try to keep my hands smooth so that it will be comforting when I touch the patient. It's a great thing that this hospital uses Kerry.
Kerry's therapeutic formula works on 3 levels. First, it soothes. Then it moisturizes. Finally, it protects against dryness.
The babies love it when my hands are soft because then my skin is as soft as theirs.
Kerry, it's trusted therapy for dry skin. And there's Kerry antibacterial hand lotion to kill germs as it softens hands.
Whoa, remember this place and those midnight snacks?
Hi, guys. Indeed. Let's have 2 dogs with the works.
Hey, I can't have one of those now.
Watching your figure?
No, I didn't take my Pepsid AC and it's too late now.
Didn't take your Pepsid? Take my Tagamet. You can eat now.
Tagamet introduces a better way to avoid heartburn. Not an hour before like Pepsid says. Now. Now you can take Tagamet right when you're going to eat and still prevent heartburn.
Mindy?
You too. Back again?
Mindy! With Tagamet, you can eat like a kid again.
There are those among us with very simple tastes. They only want the best. And for them, there's Fancy Feast gourmet cat food. Exceptionally moist and delicious. Fancy Feast. Good taste is easy to recognize.
There's been another strange development in Tennessee politics. First, the leading candidate was shot to death and found in his truck on Monday. Then his opponent went missing, and now he has been arrested and charged with murder. ABC's Steve Osunsami picks up the story in Cookeville, Tennessee.
Tommy Burke was a well-respected man. a farmer, a friend, and a state senator who served this small Tennessee community for the past 28 years. But on Monday, he was shot in cold blood in his truck on his way to meet school children at his farm's pumpkin patch.
This case is a type of a case that comes along every once in a while that strikes at the very heart of our system.
The crime alone was shocking, but this morning there was more. Police arrested Burke's political opponent and charged him with the murder. 34-year-old Byron Looper is the Republican challenger, a county tax assessor now accused of killing the popular incumbent just 2 weeks before the November election. Jerry Apston is a local sheriff who worked with both men.
It's a fiction. It sounds like fiction, but it's true.
The news has stunned this two-county area, where many say Looper could never have beaten the six-term incumbent. But even though police say Looper mysteriously disappeared the night of the murder, Looper's friends believe he's falsely accused.
What we have here is an absolute hysteria. He is the most hated human in this area of the world.
Looper is a controversial figure, sued by his ex-girlfriend and accused of theft and misusing his office. This time, he faces life in prison or death if he's convicted. But under state law, he's still listed on November's ballot. Burke's supporters are now supporting a write-in candidate, Tommy Burke's widow, their choice to fill their open seat in Nashville. Steve Osunsami, ABC News, Cookeville, Tennessee.
Well, on the money tonight, Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial is down more than 80 points today to close at 84.52 on the NASDAQ market. Stocks lost a little more than 8.75. An interesting development today in the never-ending war between Coke and Pepsi. Pepsi is spending $100 million to launch a new Diet Cola. So what has Coke decided to do? They're going to put excerpts from newly published books, including romance novels, inside cardboard 12-packs of Diet Coke, which many women drink. The world's largest produce grower, Dole, has said its profits are down 35% for the third quarter. First, El Nino destroyed the banana crop in South America. Now Russians have stopped buying bananas because they're too expensive. And now there are too many bananas. Another sign that volatility in the stock market is causing investors to be cautious. The National Football League has called off, for now, a plan to issue $600 million worth of bonds to pay for new stadiums and players' salaries. Would you have invested your money in the NFL bonds? Do you know what a bond is? Are you sure? A closer look in just a moment.
For the 14 million women who worry about light to moderate bladder control, now there's new Double Protection Compose Panty and Pad system. The Compose Panty and Pad fit together for double protection. There's a super absorbent disposable pad, but the real difference is the separate washable panty. It gives you double protection with a quilted panel that won't let wetness through. So why worry? Get double protection with Double Protection Compose. Protection that goes beyond the pad.
What's your idea of the perfect minivan? Is it the most luxurious? One with a leather-trimmed and preferred suede interior, heated front seats, and dual zone temperature control? Or is it America's lowest-priced minivan that still includes features like easy-out roller seats and air conditioning? There's only one place to choose from the complete selection of award-winning minivans. Your Chrysler and Plymouth dealer. Now get up to $1,000 cash allowance on select Chrysler and Plymouth minivans.
Hey, I got a letter back from Quaker.
You wrote to Quaker?
Yeah, I told them Quaker toasted oatmeal ought to be called Quaker Tasty Oatmeal.
It's oatmeal, it's toasted. To me, that says tasty.
Well, then they should call it that.
You need a hobby.
Quaker Toasted Oatmeal. Deliciously crisp oatmeal flakes with honey-sweetened oat clusters.
So what does Quaker say?
Well, they thank me for my interest, but said product will remain Quaker Toasted Oatmeal.
What a shock.
Quaker Tasty, Toasted Oatmeal and Quaker Oatmeal Squares. Your other oatmeal.
Parenting is a constant learning process. What you have to do is prioritize.
Back in '88, Earl wanted to retire, spend more time with Tiger.
My dad taught me.
I met an American Express financial advisor. Dave is a personal friend of mine to this day. We trust each other because we got a track record.
It's about making smarter decisions.
We're a team, and that's when dreams can happen.
American Express Financial Advisors.
Tonight we're going to dwell for a few minutes on the tremendous gap that often exists between investing in the stock market and the knowledge of what we are doing. We've said several times before now that more than 40% of American households are invested in the stock market now. And with the huge swings in the market that we witnessed of late, with the complexity of the Asian financial crisis and its impact on the United States, there's a lot to absorb. And so much, it seems, we do not know. Here's ABC's Deborah Amos.
Answer this. What investment has earned the most over the last 20 years?
Stocks. Stocks.
I think bonds.
The same Magellan Fund.
Let's try again. What is a treasury bill?
I'm going to clear what a treasury bill is.
I don't know.
A treasury bill. Oh, God.
In fact, most Americans flunk Finance 101. Studies show a majority of Americans do not even know the basics, and that means they cannot evaluate the risks and rewards of investing.
Do you know the difference between a stock and a bond? About 60% of the public would fail that test.
Surprisingly, more than 50% of Americans fail to invest in the record-breaking stock market. Why?
So you think you know enough?
I think I need to know more.
Only 4% of those who invest say they know everything they need to know to make good investments.
We're in the midst of a financial literacy crisis, and many will face unnecessary financial hardship because they don't know the financial facts of life.
This is especially important because more than half of Americans do not have a pension plan. Those who do often get it in a lump sum. A big problem if they do not know how to invest the money and make it last. Younger Americans say they know how much money it will take to retire.
About $500,000.
$4 million.
I'd like to have at least, $350,000.
They're living longer than their grandparents or their parents. They're going to have a lot more years in retirement that they need to fund.
But many do not know how to calculate how much to save.
Individuals, if they don't save for themselves and don't prepare for retirement, they may get the privilege of working forever.
A privilege most Americans could easily avoid with just a little financial planning. Deborah Amos, ABC News, Washington.
Working forever? So what about the next generation? Maybe we can do a better job of teaching them. Here's ABC's Bill Blakemore.
Imagine if you had to raise your kids to live in a wild jungle, but never taught them how to secure food or shelter or to protect themselves. That, say a growing number of critics, is what America does. Sends kids out from high school knowing nothing of economics or finance.
There are two kinds of literacy that are absolutely essential if you're going to survive, let alone thrive in the modern world. Reading literacy and economic literacy.
One poll found 2/3 of high school seniors don't understand that having no marketable skills produces low income. Nearly half thought people's wages were fixed by the government. Most have no idea how credit cards work.
This is one of those instances where knowledge literally is money.
A few schools do teach financial savvy.
Evan?
What's the necessary benefit of the capital gain?
They teach long-term saving options, 401ks, IRAs, the difference between bonds and stocks.
Right now, NAC is at 39 5/16.
Teachers report that kids are more likely to pay attention to this subject because it's about money.
It's probably one of the only required classes that actually teaches us anything that we're going to use in our future lives.
We're talking about gross. Okay.
Teachers say, as with languages, economics is even easier if children start young.
I could have $1,000 the next day when all we have flowing is $100.
Actually, a partnership would work better for me.
In this Ohio school, 11-year-olds run their own school supply business. But in fact, only 14 of the 50 states require an economics course before high school graduation. The vast majority offer it at best only as an elective.
It's not an elective in life. It's something you're going to have to deal with. Why would we make that an elective?
Good question. Bill Blakemore, ABC News, Hartsdale, New York.
So fascinating and frustrating. If you're young and you're frustrated, if you're older and you want to see if you're doing enough to prepare for retirement, you can, of course, go to our website, abcnews.com, on the internet, or through America Online. They have a lot more. When we come back, California and the 98 vote. So much riding on one race.
If you could leave just a little bit over at every meal, it would really add up.
Imagine what you could avoid eating in a single month. If you're significantly overweight, your doctor has a way to help you.
It's called Meridia, and it can help you lose weight and keep it off. You've got to do your part. You've got to do your part with diet and exercise, but Meridia can help.
Meridia is a prescription medicine, and it's not for everyone. It can substantially raise blood pressure, and it's not for people who are pregnant or nursing, under 16, or taking anything else for weight loss, depression, Parkinson's disease, migraines, or for people with glaucoma, anorexia, seizures, or serious heart, liver, or kidney problems. It's a controlled substance, so some patients may experience limited dependence. Side effects may include headache, constipation, insomnia, and dry mouth. For more information, ask your doctor or call 1-888-4-MERIDIA.
I'm ready.
Meridia. You do your part, we'll do ours.
Some people call it retirement planning. I think of this as future construction. Year by year, block by block, until...
It's our dream house.
Beautiful. But I was hoping we could afford to travel. This plan can help make it happen. We can even make sure you've got worry-free income for life.
AXA, dynamic vision, equitable, a trusted resource. Call us. Equitable is a member of the global AXA group.
But Mom, I don't want to take him with me. You don't know, Mom. Last time, he got stuck in a tree. It was almost on TV.
Sometimes moms need a little help getting kids to do the right thing.
He gets two?
Fortunately, there's Sunny Delight. Kids love that great Sunny D taste. You love the vitamins.
Let's go. Come on, Shorty.
Mr. Shorty to you.
Yeah.
Reach for the good stuff. Reach for the sun. Sunny Delight.
Why do I rent from Enterprise? Very simple. No stress. They arrange to pick me up free, so I don't have to ask anyone for a ride. See? No stress.
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
The 98 vote for our report tonight on this year's election. We go to California, the big prize. California is home to more people than any other state. And whoever wins the governor's race there will become, after the president and a handful of members of Congress, one of the most influential politicians in the country. Here's ABC's Jane Clayson on the prize.
The political establishment looks to California because it is so big. Home to 1 of every 8 Americans, the 7th largest economy in the world, even larger than China's, and more electoral votes than any other state in the Union, which is why the California governorship is considered the crown jewel of the 98 elections.
It speaks to the future of the United States, and it speaks to the momentum that the United States will be following.
In a word, California is a political trendsetter. From affirmative action and immigration to education reform and anti-smoking legislation.
We're loud, we're big, people take notice of us, and that's one of the reasons why grassroots issues start here and move across the nation.
For the national parties, California is also a trendsetter in how campaigns are won. Democrat Gray Davis is running a Clinton-esque campaign. Like the president, he has appealed to the critical centrist vote, building an important coalition of suburban women, blacks, and Latinos in this very diverse state.
Muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas gracias.
On the other hand, Republican Dan Lundgren has not been as successful in appealing to the middle, and in the waning days of the campaign is focusing on a traditional conservative Republican message.
There is a better choice. Dan Lundgren will represent us for better schools, safer streets, and lower taxes.
Our message is one that resonates with the people in this country. They want their taxes lowered. They wanted welfare reform.
The next governor will also help to literally redraw the political map here. California's 52-member congressional delegation will expand after the next census, and the governor can help draw new district boundaries to his party's advantage.
There is one more factor that makes this governorship such a prize. The California presidential primary has been moved up to make it one of the earliest. The endorsement of the next governor will be a big boost to any presidential candidate. Jane Clayson, ABC News, Los Angeles.
When we come back, a brief glimpse of the Yankees today.
Heard the news about Cheerios?
A new study has shown that 3 cups of Cheerios whole grain oats a day added to a low-fat diet can actually help reduce your cholesterol. The one and only Cheerios, to help reduce your cholesterol.
Please release me, let me. DirecTV offers more than 175 channels. Digital sound, digital picture, more sports, more movies, more of everything than you could ever get from cable. So, what are you looking at? If it's not DirecTV, see your retailer for a demo today.
Before you do this or this or this, you want to have this and this and this.
You'd be surprised how much of our technology goes into your day.
So for this, 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 this or this or this,
We're Siemens.
we can do that.
Morning seems so much brighter after a good night's sleep. That's why I love my Tylenol PM. Sometimes I have trouble sleeping. I used to worry about taking something. How would I feel in the morning? And then I tried Tylenol PM. It stops my pain and helps me sleep. So in the morning, I'm rested, refreshed, ready to make the most of my day.
Rest easy. It's Tylenol PM.
On 2020 tonight, astronaut John Glenn and 2020's own Hugh Downs.
Houston, we do not have a problem.
Training with America's space hero, exclusively on 2020. Hugh Downs, Barbara Walters, 2020 tonight.
Finally, this evening, we'll bury our personal prejudices for a moment and not give too much time to those great San Diego fans who gave their team a standing ovation even though they lost. Yes, let's hear it for the New York Yankees, world champions, and deservedly so. The Yankees, who won their second World Series in 3 years, waded through 1 million New Yorkers and tons of paper today to put the final touch on one of baseball's most memorable seasons.
Brocious, fittingly with a throw, the Yankees have done it again.
The Yankees won 125 games, including the playoffs, the most for any team ever.
Yo amo Nueva York.
I love New York, says Orlando Hernandez El Duque. The Yankees pitcher fled to the U.S. on a raft last December, leaving his 2 small children behind with his ex-wife. The Cuban government allowed El Duque's daughters, 2 and 8, and his mother to come to the U.S. today to see him. It is said that they'll return. That is our report on World News Tonight. On 2020, does the military use psychiatric treatment to publish people who blow the whistle? Don't forget Nightline. That'll be more about the peace agreement in the Middle East. I hope you have a nice weekend. I'm Peter Jennings. Good night.
Next week, the fascination with space. Billions spent reaching for the stars. What's NASA planning next? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now always